death penalty, and that is why we are meeting here today in London. We cannot forget that on this day, innocent people have been sentenced to death, to execution in Egypt in unprecedented numbers. We have come here today to remind the world of what is happening in Egypt. I'm Azam, head of the Egyptian Revolutionary Council, and I will be chairing today's meeting. I have the honor to have a very good panel with us today. On my left is Mr. Toby Kádmεν, who is a barrister in international law, and he specializes in war crimes and human rights, and he is part of a renowned legal firm based here in London. To my right is Dr. Daud Abdullah, who is the director of Middle East Monitor, a leading news and analytical current affairs website. And further to my right is Mr. Mohammed Jamil, who is the director of the Arab Organization for Human Rights, known to us all, of course, for its very important work that it does to highlight the human rights abuses in the Arab world. I welcome you, and of course, last but not least, Mr. Ahmed Al-Attar, who is the spokesman for التنسيقية for human rights abroad. Welcome to you all. Let me just start with just a few words to show the stark situation and the critical situation that exists in Egypt today. Just in numbers, Egypt has faced 44 trials concerning executions, 10 in front of military courts. 7 defendants have already been executed. 792 have been sentenced to death. 1,856 defendants are awaiting the death penalty to be approved by the Grand Mufti of Egypt. These are numbers that are unprecedented. They have shocked the world. We have to remind ourselves that Egypt is a military dictatorship that has a judiciary that it uses as a tool of the military, a judiciary that does not respect the rule of law, whose laws and verdicts are illegitimate, like the regime that exists in Egypt today. Let us remember that coup regimes the world over historically have used the judiciary in order to terrorize their own people, and Egypt is no different today. Therefore, I remind you that what we are dealing with is not an independent judiciary, but a judiciary that is the arm of the military, and that today functions in a way that is contrary to international law, that abuses human rights, that races through verdicts in a number of minutes and hours, and that Egypt's prisons today are filled with over 40,000 political prisoners who are tortured and raped and who exist in conditions that are inhumane by any standards of the world. Today we meet to ask of the international community of democratic governments of the United Nations and the Human Rights Council to ensure that the executions in Egypt are stopped. We say stop all executions in Egypt in the light of arbitrary arrests, in the light of the lack of rule of law, in the presence of a military dictatorship that does not respect the rights of citizens. We also demand in very clear terms that there should be an investigation of the prisons in Egypt, that the conditions in Egypt, in the prisons of Egypt, are investigated, that the torture that is systematic is stopped immediately. We call on the Secretary General of the United Nations, of the Commissioner of the Human Rights Council, of international organizations, and of all democratic governments, and particularly of the government of the United Kingdom, from which we speak today, to take stern action against the regime in Egypt, the coup regime that abuses human rights on a daily basis, all diplomatic and political pressure should be put on this regime to ensure it stops the executions, that it stops the tortures in prison. We call furthermore on the international community and democratic governments and the government of the United States and the United Kingdom and the EU that supported this coup to ensure the safety and well-being of the elected president of Egypt, Dr. Mohammed Morsi.